It is 4 in the morning, and you are awake again. Not because something is wrong, not because of a nightmare. You are awake because the day ahead feels like a shape you have already traced 1,000 times. You will get up, you will answer the messages, you will perform the version of yourself the world has agreed to accept. And somewhere in the quiet between one breath and the next, a small voice will ask the question you have been training yourself not to hear. Is this it? You are not broken for asking. You have just walked, for a moment, into a very old room. The room has a name. Philosophers have been sitting in it for centuries, staring at the same ceiling. And the question waiting for you there is not, what is the meaning of life? That question is too polite. The real question, the one that actually keeps you awake, is harder. If the universe never promised you meaning, if none of this was ever going to add up, how are you supposed to live? In 1942, in occupied France, a young writer named Albert Camus published a short, strange book called The Myth of Sisyphus. He was 30 years old. The world around him was burning. And he opened the book with a sentence so direct, it still startles people. He wrote that there is only one truly serious philosophical problem, and that problem is whether, or not, life is worth living. He was not being dramatic. He was being exact. Camus had watched the old answers collapse. He had watched religion, nationalism, and ideology each promise to hand people a reason, and then ask for their obedience in return. He called that trade philosophical suicide, the quiet agreement to stop looking in exchange for the comfort of a story. He refused the trade. Instead, he named the thing most people spend their lives flinching away from. He called it the absurd. Not absurd like a joke, absurd like a collision between a mind that needs meaning, your mind, and a universe that was never built to provide it. You are standing at that collision. Everyone is. Most people look away. Here is what Camus saw, and here is why it matters for you, tonight, in that 4 a.m. room. He said that once you see the absurd clearly, you have exactly 3 options. The first is to end your life. He took this option seriously enough to argue against it, gently, for an entire book. His conclusion was that suicide is not a solution to the absurd. It is a surrender to it. You do not defeat a silent universe by going silent first. The second option is to lie, to pretend the universe does speak, to grab a ready-made meaning off the shelf, a religion, an ideology, a career, a romance, a self-improvement arc, and install it over the silence, so you never have to hear the silence again. Camus did not mock people who did this. He just refused to do it himself. The third option is the one nobody teaches you. You stay. You keep your eyes open. You refuse to kill yourself, and you refuse to lie to yourself. And in the space that is left, the thin, honest space between despair and delusion, you build a life anyway. Camus called this revolt. Not protest, not rebellion against a government. Revolt against the silence. Living fully and attentively in a universe that never agreed to love you back. Consider the most ordinary thing you do. You pick up your phone. You open an app. You begin to scroll. You already know, before your thumb even moves, that nothing you see will matter in an hour. You know the feed is engineered. You know the dopamine is chemical. You know that when you put the phone down, you will feel slightly worse than when you picked it up. And you scroll anyway. This is not weakness. This is a perfectly modern performance of the oldest human script. You are Sisyphus, and the phone is your boulder. You push it up the hill of the evening. It rolls back down. Tomorrow, you push it up again. Camus would not call this a failure. He would call it a confession. Every small, meaningless loop you find yourself trapped in is the universe whispering the same thing it whispered to him in 1942. Softly, I'm not going to hand you a reason. You are going to have to decide what you do here on your own. There is a serious objection to all of this, and it is worth taking seriously. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived the concentration camps, looked at the same silent universe Camus did, and came to a nearly opposite conclusion. Frankl said, meaning is not absent. Meaning is available in work, in love, and even, unbearably, in suffering. We do not create meaning from nothing. We find it in the particular shape of our lives. If Frankl is right, then Camus' revolt looks a little melodramatic. Why fight the silence if the silence was never really there? But notice what both men share. Neither of them tells you the meaning is obvious. Neither of them tells you someone else can hand it to you. Frankl says you must find it. Camus says you must make it. In both cases, the work is yours. So maybe the argument is smaller than it looks. Maybe the absurd is just what it feels like, from the inside, the moment before meaning begins. Go back to the 4 a.m. room. You are still awake. The day is still a shape you have traced 1,000 times. Nothing about the universe has changed in the last 8 minutes. It is still silent. It still owes you nothing. And yet, you are the part of the universe that noticed. You are the part that asked. You are the small, stubborn light in a dark room that refused, for a moment, to lie to itself about where it was. Camus ended his book with a line about Sisyphus at the bottom of the hill, turning to walk back down toward his boulder. He wrote that we must imagine Sisyphus happy. Softly, not because the boulder matters, because the walk is yours.